What up, y'all? All right, today I want to get into this breakdown of lifestyle creep. This is something that not I feel like, this is something that I know that affects people of all socioeconomic conditions. Regardless of your income, the more we tend to make, the more we tend to spend. And they call it lifestyle creep because it kind of creeps up on us. We make slight incremental changes, and then before we know it, it's eating up a lot of that gain or that increase that we perceive to have had. So it's a constant movement of the goalposts in which we have to keep we have to keep making more, and we still feel like we're getting nowhere. So let's get into this first video. It's going to break down what lifestyle creep is. We're going to give it to my boy Brad. Let's check him out.
This is how to not stay poor the rest of your life. Don't fall into the trap of lifestyle creep, which means that every time you increase your level of income, you start to spend more. Make more money, buy a nicer home, get a nicer apartment. Make more money, go on nicer vacations. You get the point. Don't do that. So when you start to increase your income, but your expenses stay the same, invest the difference into assets like.
All right, Brad. We're not going to give you a shameless plug. I think his thing is real estate, so of course he's going to tell you real estate. There's a plethora of things you can invest in. I would say, depending on your income, primarily you actually want to focus on skills, increasing your skill set to then increase your income even more, to then have more of discretionary income to invest into assets. Now, he was going to recommend real estate. There are a plethora of other asset classes that you could invest in, whether it be stocks and bonds or tangible assets like real estate. Um, Overall, you want to invest in things that are going to give you the benefit of compound interest, or basically the compounding effect. So do your own due diligence and find out what makes sense for your situation and circumstance. I see, now that we know what it is, we can be more aware and maneuver the obstacles before us. So I think it's just being conscious of our goals with money. I think a lot of people, just the idea of money is like, I just want to make more, and then they just want to get more, and they don't even necessarily know what are the true internal motivators of that. A lot of the things that people get when they do increase their income are things that have social or extrinsic value, as opposed to personal and intrinsic value. So a lot of one of the key things that people go out and get is a new car, a fancy car. All right, cool, fancy car. You like how it feels. You like the features. You like the looks people give you when you're in it. You like how they feel when you're in your car. After a few years, it's just a car. It's gonna feel the same as the previous car you were driving, but now you're saddled with this car payment that may take 5 to 6 years. So the thing about lifestyle creep is it's very important to avoid locking yourself into things that are going to have lasting effects, such as a brand new fancy car, or even your housing, whether it be an apartment or if you were to purchase a house, because this now becomes a big liability that's a drain on that increased income. And it can have lasting effects in the long run. We're going to get into another video that kind of breaks down this a bit more in a little bit of a comedic way. So we're going to hand it over to my boy, Brad.
Congrats on the new job. We're starting you at $60K. I'll take this belt, that shirt, and those shoes. Your numbers this year are incredible. We're bumping your pay up to $100K. I'm curious, what can $5K per month get me? You've been a top performer since you got here. We're promoting you to CFO, and your new salary is now $250K. I'm finally moving into my dream home. Sorry, sir, but you can't retire yet. You don't have enough money saved and invested to cover your living expenses. How did this happen? I've always made great money. Yes, but every time you earned more, your spending increased along with it. You fell.
All right. He was going to finish off and say that he fell victim to lifestyle creep, but we're not going to give my boy Brad, a shameless plug. So, yeah, man, this can like I said, it can have lasting effects and affect your outcomes as far as retirement. And the goal is to kind of retire early, or to have autonomy and control of our time and behaviors. So the sooner we can get to a place of financial stability, where we can dictate what we do with our time, the better. So hopefully, by not falling victim to lifestyle creep, we can make better investments that grow over time, that can allow us to get to this point earlier. But as you can see in that breakdown, If you constantly keep increasing your expenses, you now have a smaller pool to draw from that you can invest in, that you can, allow to grow over time, because each time you made more, you were spending it, you were consuming more. So the increase, the gain that you felt from the increase actually became less over time. Because the thing about lifestyle creep is, when you upgrade your lifestyle, these things feel like great, it's fun, it's cool, it's a novel experience. But as time goes on, that becomes your new normal, that becomes your new standard, and now you're going to feel compelled to re-experience that same feeling by consuming even more. So the the perceived benefit tends to decrease even though we're making more. I think basically a realignment of your mind, and focusing on the things that personally give you fulfillment is a better allocation of those funds, those resources, right? So we talked about the car, how the car or the house might have social or extrinsic value. What is the things that add fulfillment to you? So, for example, one thing that I always convey to people is experiences. I think experiences are the most valuable thing because they have lasting effects. Even after the money is spent, we still get to hold on to those memories. And if we share those experiences with somebody, we now have a vessel to communicate them with. Like, many years ago, I took my sister to a concert. To this day, we still talk about that concert, or we talk about the experience we had around that concert. Like, oh, we went out to eat before. Remember when that funny couple was sitting in front of us? As opposed to in 2004, she don't remember what I got her for as a Christmas gift. What does that look like for a person personally? I think instead of buying, clothes or outfit, maybe it's like a meal. Maybe it's a restaurant experience that you wanted to do. Maybe you make time and space to do those things, or maybe it's a hobby or activity that you wanted to engage in, and you go do those things that can facilitate social interactions that will have far greater lasting effects than the purchase of an item or a thing. Now it might be a plethora of things that are different for you. Maybe it is a thing, but I think just make sure that the internal motivator for those purchases, or that increased consumption, is intrinsic and specific to you, as opposed to the accolades and affirmation that you get from other people. Um, One of the things that really resonated with me was I saw a clip, and I believe it was Joe Rogan, and he was talking about how when he started making big money, he got this fancy apartment in New York City, and he said it kind of messed with his mind, because as soon as he moved in, it was like this euphoric feeling. Oh my God, I never thought I could afford this. I'm finally in this big apartment. It feels so good, but because it was so expensive, he had to spend the majority of his time outside the apartment working to be able to pay for the apartment. And then eventually it returned to that similar feeling he had when he was in a non-luxurious apartment. It was just the feeling of it being home. So being aware of the things, the internal drivers and the cues of the things that we would consume, I think can help us avoid lifestyle creep. Do you like the house that is fancy, or do you like this space because it's simply your home? Would you get those same feelings of fulfillment and joy and satisfaction in any space that was comfortable, that felt like home? So I think just being aware of those things can avoid us lifestyle creep. Again, my boy Bobby, like my boy Brad, was going to get into different ways we can invest in, as opposed to consuming as a means to avoid lifestyle creep. I think there should be a balance. I think we should keep our future in mind, but also spending things in the moment that increase our satisfaction, so long as they are intrinsic and specific to you. I think that has some value as well. So, like I always say, when we know the obstacles before us, we can then navigate them. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and I'll be back at you with more action. All right.